Hi, I am Alex.
My name is Sergey. We are Table Tennis 11.
And today we are testing the Hurricane rubbers. In our previous video, we have talked that in the plastic ball era time, Chinese sticky rubbers are becoming more and more popular and more up to date. So this influenced on our decision to test Hurricane rubbers. We have taken two Hurricane Neo rubbers, Hurricane 3 Neo and Hurricane 2, and two rubbers with softer sponge, Hurricane 350 and Hurricane 8.
We will use in our test Neotech Voodoo blades, as we usually do. This is around 86 grams and with very good wooden feeling.
To be exact, our tests last for 2 days. We unpack the rubbers, treat them with booster. On the second day, we assemble rackets and start our testing.
As we mentioned earlier in previous videos, plastic ball has less spin in the game and more spin is needed. This is why Hurricane 3 rubbers are very popular, or Hurricane 2 rubbers too. I played with all these rubbers myself and I like all of them, but this will be first time when I could compare the rubbers to each other.
Before, almost all Chinese top players, and not only top players, but almost all Chinese players were using Hurricane rubbers on their forehand. Even some of them on their backhand. But now these rubbers are becoming more and more popular worldwide. Many European and Asian players outside China are using Hurricane rubbers.
It is no wonder, because European top players, they look at best Chinese players and they try to get the same equipment to become world champions.
We have taken a decision to boost these rubbers before we go on testing, because many players do. And it's not a secret that Chinese rubbers, for their best performance, first should be boosted and second should be played for a certain time to get their better performance. The rubbers are sticky, and to get rid of this additional or extra stickiness, you have to play a bit, and then the rubbers are becoming more faster and more easy to use. Normally, I would say after 1 or 2 training sessions, they are close to its best performance.
But I would not discourage those players who doesn't want to boost the rubbers. I play myself sometimes without boosting, and many players can use the rubbers without boosting. But it would be good you would have some hours to play in the rubber, so it would not be too sticky as it is from the beginning.
Actually, these two versions with the softer sponge, 350 and Hurricane 8, they were created for using without booster. And also many players are using these rubbers on their backhands. So it's up to you whether you boost or not, but we have decided for this testing session to make it with booster. Maybe next time we should do it without boostering. These classical Neo rubbers are so-called factory boosted or factory tuned. Most of the top players, or even players who has better skills, they still prefer to boost them additionally. For this purpose, these rubbers are coming with a pre-glued sponge. It means if you don't want to use booster, you can cover your blade with the glue layer. After it is dry, you can apply the rubber on the blade without applying glue on the sponge surface. But in order to boost this rubber, you have first to peel off this thin layer of glue. We will show you how we do it.
There are a lot of discussions in table tennis community if it is legal or illegal to boost the rubbers. I think we can make one more video just discussing this topic, but right now we can assure that the booster is absolutely clean. It is no damage for the health, and we feel it is very safe and efficient to boost the rubbers.
If you have any interest, you may write your comments, and we will be glad to make separate video about the boostering, about different kind of boosters, and about legal aspect of course too. Now we start preparing the rubbers, and see you soon near the table.
I have been playing with Hurricane rubbers for more than 6 years already, so this testing session was very pleasant for me and I hope you enjoy it as well. We have started our testing with Hurricane 3 rubber. This is my personal preference for the forehand, so I like it very much, and I had quite some experience in testing different Chinese rubbers, so I was ready for this testing. As expected, Hurricane 3 is a very good rubber with plenty of control and plenty of power, and it would stay still my personal preference for the forehand side. The second rubber was Hurricane 2. It was a little bit different from Hurricane 3. Maybe it is because of the sponge, which is slightly harder, maybe because of different top sheet, but I could not feel the ball very good with it, especially with my backhand side. Though when we started playing forehand, it showed almost the same qualities as Hurricane 3. So I would say that Hurricane 2 is slightly harder than Hurricane 3. The next rubber we tested was Hurricane 350. This one is very different from others because of the sponge, I assume. The sponge is very soft and it has clicky sound when you play it. And I would call it a mixture between German and Chinese rubber, because the top sheet is still as sticky as all others, but the sponge is very different and bouncy. So I think many players could like it, and I liked it on my backhand side as well, but it's still very different. And the last two rubber we tested was Hurricane 8. The feeling was closer to Hurricane 2 and Hurricane 3 for me. I also liked it, but the rubber feels a bit softer than Hurricane 3, but still harder than Hurricane 350. I would try to play on the backhand side with it. I think that would be a good choice.
Today's testing was very pleasant to me. I like it very much because personally I like Hurricane rubbers. And for myself it was very interesting. I would like to know what is the difference between all of these four versions. These rubbers are very popular on the market, but still I think these rubbers have very good potential. And more players can switch to Hurricane rubbers. Out of these four rubbers, Hurricane 3 is my personal choice, so with my own racket, I play with Hurricane 3. This one, in particular, is Hurricane Neo. I play with normal version. It's faster, and also we boost these rubbers. So it was very interesting feeling. I played almost with my rubber, but the feeling, it was much faster. So in the beginning it was difficult to manage this rubber. But later when I feel it, it was really very comfortable. Everything was just perfect. Hurricane 2 is a bit different from Hurricane 3, but my skills and my feelings is not enough to tell you what is the difference. I need to adjust my play to the Hurricane 2 rubber, and maybe the feeling was a bit harder, but the margin was very small. Service received with Hurricane 2 was even easier to do. Hurricane 350 has totally different sponge. You can even see the color is different. It's more at the red side. This sponge reminds me my experience when I tested German rubbers. It's springy sponge. It has a very strong and clicky sound. Some players might like it, some players not. For me it was very hard to play, but this is totally different rubber which I use. I cannot say objectively, but this is definitely not my personal preference. Hurricane 8 is rubber with a softer sponge, and the top sheet is also a bit different comparing to Hurricane 3. It was much more difficult for me to play, but I think it was because this is not my personal rubber. So I need more time to adjust, I need more time to get used to it, and maybe I can get some advantages out of this rubber comparing to Hurricane 3 and Hurricane 2. But this takes much more time, and unfortunately I cannot give you much more valuable information.
Hurricane 3 Neo for my forehand and for my backhand were really good. It had a lot of spin, a lot of power and a lot of control, for my opinion. Hurricane 2 Neo had little bit less control than Hurricane 3 Neo. Это чуть-чуть хуже. Мне неудобно играть. Hurricane 350 had little bit less power than Hurricane 3 Neo. It was too slow for me. To play with Hurricane 8 for me was a little bit unpleasant.
Hurricane rubbers are my favorites. Please keep in mind that the stickiness of these rubbers gives to the ball not only additional spin, but it's also quite unpleasant for the opponent, and you can win a lot of points due to the stickiness of these rubbers. I would like to start my comments from Hurricane 8, because from my point of view, it differs from other Hurricane in stickiness. So it feels like all Hurricane 3 are much more sticky than Hurricane 8, and from my point of view, Hurricane 8 is much better to play with the backhand. So I started myself playing with Hurricane 8 just on my backhand. The Hurricane 350 has quite a soft sponge with very strong sound. So many people like strong sound because it helps to have a feeling that the ball is controlled and the ball flies fast due to the sound. So it might be good for those players who use short movements, short strokes, and then it will be quite comfortable when you don't exercise too much power with every stroke. Hurricane 3 Neo is absolute winner from my point of view for the forehand side, because it allows to accelerate the speed and spin on the maximum potential. Hurricane 2 Neo was like a new rubber for me to try, and it was harder than Hurricane 3 Neo, and it has even greater potential from my point of view for speed and spin, but exercise and practice is needed to control it. So it's very promising rubber from my point of view.
That's all for now.
So our testing session is over. We hope you enjoyed the video. We ourselves like the process, and we hope that it could be interesting for you, it could be useful. Maybe we could inspire you to buy something extra, or on the other hand, to save some money if this is not your piece of cake.
It was a lovely testing for me. I'm in love with Chinese rubber, if I may say so. As in our previous video, we used different players of different level to test the rubbers. and I hope everyone can find a piece which could be interesting for him.
We are Alex and Sergey,
We are Table Tennis 11.
and we talk about table tennis.